Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of Creating Wealth. And we have Robert Allen, our amazing mentor in the house. How are you doing, Robert?
Oh, excellent. Thank you.
And we're super excited for today's topic because one of the most important strategies when you are doing nothing down real estate is the negotiation part. So, first of all, what are some of the benefits that you get from negotiating a deal?
So negotiation is a big subject. It's how do I get a seller to agree to my creative terms so that we both win. So the first mindset is win-win. I want the seller to win, and I don't want the seller to lose. So I'm not going to want to take advantage of that seller. So when I come into a negotiation, this is my mindset. I want you to win. Therefore, I need to ask you questions so I can understand how you win. A realtor is going to stand in the way of that. They don't want you to talk to the seller. Well, because they're in the middle and they're bringing information back and forth between the buyer and the seller. That's how they get their commission. They don't want you to talk to the seller. They don't want to give up that control. They're not happy about that. Now, you can require or you can request it. You can put it in your offer. This offer, I must be present when this offer is presented. You put that in the subject twos of your offer. Right. Therefore, it means that you are there. Why would you want to be there? Well, if it's an all cash deal, you don't have to be there. It's all cash. There's no flexibility. There's no creativity. It's just all cash. So no, don't go that negotiation unless you're offering too low of a cash. But generally speaking, you don't need to go. But when you have a creative real estate deal, you want to be there because you want the seller to get a hit off of you, that you are an honest, ethical, win-win person. So you want to be there to do some mirroring and matching, and that's an NLP term that talks about how you are going to use your presence to cause a person to trust you quickly, rapidly. They've never met you before, but they need to trust you. And within seconds, if you are exuding this positivity, then they will lower their guard. They will take their guard down. And realtors don't know how to do that, in my opinion. Generally speaking, unless they're a real professional, they get in the way. Frankly, I want to be there with the seller myself. Now, one of my most successful students, he owns hundreds of millions of dollars worth of real estate.
Wow.
And he owns commercial real estate. So what's different between real estate and commercial is residential and commercial. Is a residential, the owner probably lives in that home, and therefore they own it, and they have a pride of ownership. It's their house, and you're buying an asset that they really like, that's part of their heart, right? Usually where they've raised their family. If you're buying a commercial property, then you know that the owner is there for a money purpose. They are there to make their money grow. That's why they bought the property.
Right. It's more like a business at that point.
It's a business, exactly. So my friend, who is a commercial investor, requires the seller to let him talk to the seller because he has formed a rapid strategy for building instant trust. So he'll fly across the country to talk to an owner of a property who lives in Miami. He lives in Minneapolis, and he literally fly across the country. Now, what does that do? Most sellers don't want you to do that, because they don't want to put you out. But you say, I'd like to meet with you. Can I take you to lunch? Now, there's a book called Influence by Cialdini. This is the best book that's ever been written on influence, and I recommend everybody read it. But one of the principles of Cialdini's book, there's 7 principles. The first principle is liking. In other words, how do you have somebody like you So you'll notice things that you like about them, and you'll compliment things very sincerely. I'm not doing this as a insincere manipulation. It's just like, oh, I see that you're those your kids on the desk. There's that picture of your family. And, wow, that's cool. Let me show you my family. He shows him his picture of his family. Okay, just doing that one thing just lowers the barriers dramatically. When you're liking them, when you're doing things that would cause them to like you, to see what areas of their life are similar to yours. Oh, you're a Republican? I'm a Republican. You're a Democrat? I'm a Democrat. Whatever, you belong to this church? You're a Christian? I'm Christian. It's just you let the seller talk. You let him talk, so he reveals things that are part of the conversation that let you know how you can bring in the liking principle, which is one of the principles of persuasion. Then you'll ask him what his dreams are. What are you trying to accomplish? Why would you need to sell this property? Obviously, if you own this property, because I'm talking about commercial real estate, and apartment owners, if you own a person that has a duplex or a quads or 10-unit buildings, 12-unit buildings, they are all commercial investors. So it's not their own home they're selling to you. They're actually selling you a property where they're going to make a profit from it, and therefore they take that profit and put it somewhere else. Why don't you allow that seller to be your partner on the next deal?
Right.
So he will literally say, I want you to lend me some of your equity on this deal. Rather than me going to the bank, I'll let you be the bank. And therefore, let's partner on this thing together. I'll make you interest payments on the loan, and I'm going to plan to fix this property up. If I fix it up, would you like a percentage of it? Why would a seller do that? I mean, a seller would say, what? What are you doing? You're actually cut me in on the deal on my property. I'm just trying to sell you? Yeah, I would like to cut you in. Why? Because I'm going to take you from this property to that property to another property to another property. You're going to bring your friends in. You're going to tell your friends how good I am, that you made me profits here and there and everywhere. In other words, you're going to be the source of the money for every deal I do from there on because of the way I negotiate. And the negotiation means I want you to win. I want to know how I can make you win. I need to know how you're going to win. And then I'm going to provide the solution to you so that you do win. And then when you do, I want you to lend me the money on the next deal, on the next deal, on the next deal. Now, this doesn't work as much when it comes to residential real estate, where the owner of the home lives in that home and that's their primary residence. They're going to want the money out of that property to go buy another house. Unless, and this would be a very positive discovery, unless you found that they've already bought the house. They've already owned the home. They've moved across the country. They already bought it. They don't need the money from this house. Now I can say, well, then you're an investor. Why don't you leave some of your money here in this house and become a partner with me?
Right.
And most people never go take that next step. It's just a revolutionary step because you want to buy it for yourself. You want to buy it for you, have 100% ownership. But hey, if they would be a good possible investor, partner with you, why not leave them as part of the owner in that property? It's just using other people's money. You're using the owner's money to buy their own property. And it's just really, it's really kind of a different way of looking at it. Because I'm trying to teach you how a real estate investor thinks outside the box. If you're inside the box, it's retail. You got to be outside the box where it's wholesale, and you got to find the sellers that you negotiate with. So negotiation is a building of trust. And it's hard to build that trust when you're not face to face. Therefore, it would be my advice to you to try to get face to face. And therefore, once they know you and they begin to like you, the guards come down. The offers are different. The offer that you make them is different. Because now you're really negotiating with a friend, not an enemy. You're on the same side of the table that they are. Instead of being across the table where we are adversaries, you're on the same side of the table with them. Hi, how can you win? Let me share with you. Oh, let's see. Well, you're going to invest your money in a CD. How much could you get on that CD? 5%? Well, why don't you just leave your money here in the house?
You can get even more.
Yeah, I can give you 6%. And you know the house, it's your house. You like it. You love it. So why buy an asset that you have no idea how it works? Okay, and then if you're willing to do that, maybe if you'll help me some of the fix-up money, in other words, give me more money, we'll fix it up. We'll take your 100,000 equity and we'll turn it into 200,000. Would you like that? Okay, so negotiating is about how to find a win-win situation with your owner of a property so that you both win. When I'm negotiating, I try to use positive languaging. I like to, let me teach you a little secret.
Ooh, let's hear it.
Yeah, here's a secret word. You're negotiating with somebody and they say, well, why would I want to be a partner with you? Why would I have the interest, lend you the most of the money in this deal? This is the secret word. It's called imagine. That's the word, imagine. When you are talking with a person and they're resisting, it's because they are in a walls of fear. They're afraid of you. They don't trust you.
Oh, wow.
They are surrounded by these fears of what would happen if I lost my money? What happens if this person take advantage of me? What happens if the house is rented out because they say they're an investor and they rent it out and the house gets trashed and it gets destroyed and then therefore he won't make his payments and then I get the property back. There's all these fears that are just running around that person's head. And if they're an employee-minded person, they're security-oriented. They hate fear. They hate risk. They hate loss. They are security-oriented. They're safety-oriented. So the word imagine means imagine that if you became my partner in this deal, we went through maybe 10 properties in the next 10 years. In other words, I use your equity to get into this one, and now we become partners. When we go to the next deal, maybe you'll provide some of the financing for it. We buy 2 deals, we buy 3 deals, we buy 4 deals. Imagine 10 years from now, you have 10 properties. I'm managing them. I'm taking care of them. It's all passive to you. You don't have to spend 1 second managing a property. I'm a pro at this. I know what I'm doing. I'm never going to put a tenant in there that's going to rip this property apart. I'm going to put the right tenant in. We're going to generate cash flow. And what if let's say 100,000 that he was going to leave in the property, what if it grew into 500,000 5 years from now or 10 years from now? Imagine what that would be like. Where would you spend the money then? Would you buy a bigger house? Would you buy a better car? Would you send your kids to better universities? Where would you spend the money? So now what you've done is you've taken that person and out of their box of fear, you've taken them over top of the walls of fear, transported them into the future where all the problems are resolved, where they don't have to wonder whether this is going to work out. You've now removed all that fear by putting them in the future where their problems don't exist. And therefore, negotiation is finding a way for them to envision what you're offering them in a way where they win. Or you could leave your money in the bank and it's at 1.5% interest. And let's see, you've got 100,000 in there. Your money's going to grow by 1% per year. So you'll have 101,000 by next year. Whoop-de-doo. Not smart. But if you were to do it with me, you'd have $200,000 in 5 years from now instead of $108,000. We would double your money.
And the best part, I feel like when you're negotiating and mentioning these facts also of what would happen if you don't invest with me, I feel like we have so many different people and they think differently. Some people are more fact oriented. So you're not only targeting the people that are more into the dreams area, but you're also targeting the people that are looking for facts. which is true. Like, for example, if they were to spend all their money and put it on just the bank account, it's not
Yeah.
going to grow even as much as all the big potential that they could do on a real estate deal. So, and also another thing that you mentioned is how it is important to meet with the person when it's like face to face kind of thing.
Yep.
Would you say you can also get the same interaction if it were over Zoom, for example? Because like in the times of the pandemic,
It's a great
people
question.
could not do
yes,
that.
Yes, you could. Yes, you could get the same kind of, not quite as good as face to face, because when you're traveling to another city, the seller knows that you've invested time and you have essentially given them the gift of your presence.
That's right.
Now, most people don't think of going to visit the seller as a gift. But if they know that you've gone out of your way to get there, then when you get there, you buy them lunch. That's a gift. Then you're using the principles of persuasion. So they were just more likely to say yes to your crazy offers. And that's why it starts with a highly motivated seller, and then using the right kind of negotiations, you show them how they can win.
That's right. And I feel like it also gives the whole transaction a more human aspect instead of just seeing a whole bunch of numbers going into your bank account as, oh yeah, I just sold this property. Boom. There's this much money on your account. At the same time, it also allows the person to truly trust you. And I feel like that's really important when it comes to the sellers, for example, because most of them, they are reluctant just to sell those things. As you mentioned, they have like those memories attached to their properties that makes it a little bit harder.
So an all cash deal means they don't have to worry about any of that. But remember, if they're an investor, they have to have a place to put that money.
Right.
And most of them don't. And therefore what they do is they risk. They take their money and risk it in other places where the possibility of losing it is huge. Whereas if they leave their money in the property at a higher interest rate, they know they're earning that steady interest rate, which is 5 times higher than the bank could provide for them, and therefore they know the property. They're familiar with it. They know what it is. They know the neighbors. They're going to be more likely to want to win that way. So negotiation is about discovering what a person really wants. And when you pay retail, all cash, you don't know any of that. You just let them sell it to them and let them take their cash wherever they want to take it. I want to meet with the seller. I want to talk. Let's talk about your deals.
Especially because when you are meeting the person face to face, you can also see what is not said on the conversation.
Exactly.
You can read their body language. You can see what exactly is motivating them. Because they could be saying some things with their mouth, but if you look at their body language, they may be showing you other cues that you can take into your toolbox of negotiation.
That's exactly right. That's why the best strategy is to meet face to face. And that's difficult to do. And most realtors will resist you, or they'll tell you, no, we don't do that. It's our job to be in the middle. And
well, that's okay. You can be in the middle, but right there, I'm going to be talking to the seller.
Exactly. Listen, realtor, you get paid no matter what.
I'll get you lunch too. Boom.
That's right. I'm just here. I want to talk to that seller face to face. I've been teaching this for many, many, many years. A lot of people don't listen to it because they'll have a realtor tell them 3 or 4 times in a row, different realtors, no, we don't do that. It's not a smart thing to do. And therefore they kind of learn that there are certain rules, there are certain hidden rules that are part of a traditional real estate transaction. And I'm telling you that that's a rule you got to break. That's a rule they won't like, but that's a rule that you're going to have to do. If you want to create a real estate deal, you got to do that.
That's right. And I mean, investors, they are risk takers. We go for it. We always have that mindset of if somebody tells you that's not possible, you prove them wrong.
Yeah,
you prove them, no, it is
Exactly.
possible.
Yeah.
I can actually talk to that seller even if you don't give me the permission because you're not my mom.
Yeah,
So you
yeah.
just go over them in that case. Plus, you can always find the information, I feel like, for the seller itself, right? On one of the listings.
Yeah. You'll read all kinds of books and they'll give all kinds of strategies and techniques. And another rule that I use is the first person to mention a number loses.
Oh, that's true.
So you don't mention numbers. If you do mention a number, then you make the number ridiculously low. And therefore they go, I never accept an offer like that. And you go, well, then what offer would you accept?
Boom.
And now they start telling you information that helps you with your negotiation. So the first person to mention number lose is a big one. It's a biggie. And then trusting, and that's another big one. So I could give you a list of 10 things you need to do when you're negotiating. The ones that I just basically gave you here today are enough. It's the purpose of your negotiation is to build trust, period. That's it. That's what you're there for.
And I feel like if we could finish this podcast, this episode, the best takeaway that we can get from this is that become friends with your seller. He's not your enemy. He's the person that is giving you a really good deal that is going to make you millions along the line. So just try to become their friends. Like most people, they have so many friends.
Yeah.
So just like you were able to make those many friends, also try to become friends with that one seller because he could change your life and your portfolio as well.
Exactly.
Thank you so much, Bob. And thank you to our audience for listening to this podcast. And we're going to see you on the next episode. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.